Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 17 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're going to learn artificial intelligence or you're going to die trying. What I'm going to need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of iced coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice. No sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're getting your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to you guys who are helping me out over at Patreon. It is your support and your encouragement that keeps this great content coming. You guys that are not helping out yet, take a look down in the description below. There is a link over to my Patreon account. Think about hopping on over there and hooking a brother up. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump right in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. And today is something that I think is very important and it's very exciting. And it's one of those things that they never really teach you. You're just sort of going around looking at code and you see someone's code with these commands in it and it makes no sense what they're doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you this very important method today, and it's something that can make your life easier, not only on this set of lessons, but in many, many different things that we are going to do, that you might be doing in the future. So what am I going to teach you? I'm going to teach you how to walk through your file system using inside of Python. Okay, I'm going to show you how to walk through a file system from inside of Python. And I think you're going to see right off the bat just how useful that can be. So what I'm going to do is I am going to switch over to our other background there. Okay, I think we have that all running. And then we're going to fire up the most excellent Visual Studio Code. And we're going to go back and I think just revisit that last program that we did. I think it was OpenCV number 24. And this is where we were doing facial recognition on live video coming from the webcam. And what we did is we had a folder up here of known faces. Okay, we had a folder of known faces. And then when we wanted to train on a particular face, we would load load image that file. We would find the face locations and then we would encode them. And so for every face that we wanted to learn, we would have to load it, find the faces and encode. So it was sort of like load, encode. And then if we wanted to train on a different person, then we would have to copy and paste this and load the file and do it. And so it's really like it required playing with the program to train it on different faces. Now, wouldn't it be neat if you could train on everything that's inside of your unknown folder and you didn't have to change the program at all? That is what we're going to do today, and I think that it is pretty neat. I really, really enjoy doing this, and I think that it works in lots and lots of different places. So we are going to come back to Visual Studio Code, and we're going to kill this program, and we're going to go back to our main Python folder, and then I believe we're on number 25, and so we are going to click on the plus file and we are going to say this is going to be OpenCV-25.py, and the .py is pretty important. And we have a fresh new Python program just waiting to be written. Going to have a sip of coffee here. Hopefully you guys enjoy your coffee along with me. All right, so let's jump in. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how you can automatically walk through a set of files or automatically walk through the folders and the files inside of a certain folder. That there's some very elegant Python methods that will allow you to do that. Well, in order to do it, the first thing we are going to have to do is import OS as an operating system, and that will give us the tools that we need in order to walk through our file structure. And then we also need to always import our old friend CV2, and then we need to import our new friend face recognition, and we import that as FR so we don't have to just keep typing face recognition ad nauseum. And then for some strange reason, I always like to print my CV2 _ version _ I like to know what version I'm running on. Okay. Now, if we are going to step through directories and step through files, we have to tell it where we are going to start. So imagine you have a folder, and then that folder has 6 folders inside of it, and then it also has files in the main folder, and then those subfolders have folders and files. And so you can imagine there's folders inside of folders inside of folders, and we want to walk through every single folder, and we want to walk through every single file. Well, you got to tell it where to start. You don't want to start at C:, right? That would take forever to step through everything on your computer. So you've got to kind of give it your core root directory where you want to start this walking process. And so what I'm going to call it is, because I am looking at images, I am going to call it image dir for image directory. And then where is that image directory? Well, I want to step through, in demo images, I want to step through my known images. And so this is the folder that I want to step through. And I'll show you, I'll start with this because it's pretty simple. It's a folder and it has files in it, but it doesn't have other folders in it. So I'll start with this one because it's real simple, and then we'll try some other things. Maybe we'll go and start at demo images, and demo images has 2 folders, and each one of those folders has files. So we'll show you something a little more complicated, but to understand it, let's start with something simple. So I need to get the path to this, and so I will just say copy path. All right, and then I am going to come here and I am going to paste the path. And you would have a choice to like make all of these forward slashes instead of backslashes to make it work. But the problem is if you do this, then when we start giving these OS commands, it goes in and it puts them back this direction. So then we've got paths with some forward slashes and some backslashes. So I would like to stay with these, I call these backslashes. I hope that's the right word, backslashes, but the ones that go this way. And I think we can make it work if we just put 2 here. So if you're going to use the backslash, you need to put an extra one. So if we just put the backslash, now this should work. Let's run it just to make sure. And we are running it. And where are we? Okay, I think it ran without error. Let's try it one more time to be sure. Okay. So it likes our slash method, and so we can fix it by just putting the 2 slashes there after C. So that I'm telling the program I want to start in my image directory, which is my demo images. What is this nonsense? Demo images / canon. Did I do this at the wrong one? Let me say copy path. Maybe I did it on the wrong one, or maybe I don't know what's going on. Yeah, okay. So I must have just clicked on demo images instead of known, but now I'll put my extra one there. Now I am ready to go. I've told it where I want to start. Okay, now when I do this os.walk, when I do the os library.walk, it's going to start where I tell it to start, and then it's going to list 3 things. It's going to list where it is. That's kind of like the root. Which folder am I in? The root. Well, the first time through, the root is going to be what? Image directory, because that's where you told it to start. So it's going to list the folder that it's in, the root. Then it's going to list all the folders that are inside of that folder that you're in. And then it's going to list all the files that are inside of that folder. Then after it does that, the next time through, it's going to hop down into that first folder, and then it's going to list what folder it's in. Well, now it's that folder that it moved to. Then it's going to list the folders inside of that folder and then the files inside of that folder. Then it's going to hop to the next folder. And so it's going to, first of all, go through all of those top level folders and then the folders and those folders and the folders and those folders and the folders and those folders. And it will just walk through any structure methodically. But each time through, it returns to you the root, where it is now, what folder it's in now, then the folders inside of that folder, and then the files inside of that folder. And then it's just going to step. So we want to call this os.walk. We want to do this walk in a for loop. But what we want to do is, as we're doing the walk, we want to return the response from that method into variables. Well, what did I say that it returns? The os.walk returns the root. That is the folder that you're presently in. You could say root, or you could say my present folder, something like that. I'm just going to call it root. Okay, then and that's just a path to the folder that it is presently in on this iteration. Then it is going to return the dirs, the directories. Which directories? The directories that are in root, its present working folder. Now, the first time through the loop, root is going to be this, and then dirs is going to be the folders that are inside of this. For us, there are no folders, so it's just going to be an empty array, an open and close bracket, and then it is going to return the files that are inside of that folder. And so for us, that would be all of these files here that are inside of known. So it's going to return root, it's going to return dirs, and it's going to return files. So for root, dirs, and files, why is root singular? Because it's just your present working folder, singular. Dirs, there could be lots of folders inside of root, and then files, there could be lots of files. And so dirs and files are arrays. Root is just a single file. Okay, so for root, dirs, and files, in what will we want to do our walk? So we're going to say for in os.walk, we're going to start this walk. Okay, and then we got to tell it where to start. Well, where do I want to start? I want to start in image dir. Image dir. And so it's going to start there, and it's going to walk its way through everything that is underneath that. Why am I going on and on and on and being so repetitive? Because this was so confusing to me when I saw it in code and didn't understand what it was doing. So I want you to understand it so you can use it not just for this lesson, but you can use it for other things in the future. Okay, so it is going to step root, dirs, and files through the os.walk. All right, then what do we want to do? Well, let's just print. Let's start printing what we have here. So I'm going to print. And what do I want to print? I think I'm going to print, my working folder. Like, what folder is it in? And this is kind of up there what we called root, right? So I'm writing it both ways just so it's clear what it is. Okay, that's the label. And then what do I want to print? Root. Okay, now I want to print what? I want to print the dirs, the directories in root. Okay, that should be inside like that. Okay, and then what would that be? That is dirs. So this is going to print an array, and that array is going to be all the directories that are inside of root. Right, then what am I going to print? I'm going to print my files in the root, like that. Okay, and every time through, root changes because it's walking through those subfolders, so root changes every time, and then that is going to be the files. So I got root, dirs, and files. I'm going to print root, dirs, and files. And this one actually should be pretty straightforward because I don't have any dirs in root, right? We come over here and look in known, all I've got is files. And so it should print where I started, which is this, and then that's the root, and then it should print the dirs, which is inside of that directories, which should be none, so it's just going to be an open and close bracket, and then it's going to print the files, and that would be all of these files. So it's going to be an array with all of these names on it. So let's just, I'm going to open this up a little bit so it'll be a little easier for you to look at. Let's run it and see if this works. Boom! Look at that. So my working folder is what? It's C, blah, 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 all the way down to known, which we set it at. And then the directories in the root is the open and close, nothing. There were no directories in there. And then my files in root, you can see all of these files. AnthonyFauci.jpg, BillBarr.jpg, CharltonHeston.jpg, Chase.jpg. So now I have an array of all the files. Okay, well, I think that that is just absolutely pretty cool. Now, just to kind of make it interesting, what if instead of starting in notes, so you see it just really went through one time because it didn't find any other directories inside of the root, it didn't have any other place to walk through. Well, just to make it interesting, what if instead of starting at known, what if we started one level up at demo images? Now there's some DIRs in here, so this should get a little bit more interesting. And so let's come here and let's run this thing again. And boom, look at this. Okay, so we start, let's see, we start where? We start in demo images this time. Now, what are the DIRs in root? Well, there is the known folder and there is the unknown folder. Okay, and then what are the my files in root? Well, none, because if we look over here at demo images, there are 2 directories, but there are no files. And so I have directories, but I do not have any files. Now what does it do? Now it steps down into, now the root becomes demo images /known. So it is now stepped into this folder, and then it finds no directories in that folder, but it finds all of these file names. Very interesting. Does it stop there? No. It goes back, and it goes back to that other folder there, unknown, so it goes to the demo images /unknown. It looks in there, it finds no DIRs, and then the files that it finds in there are U1, U10, 11, 12, all those different files it finds in that folder. So I hope that that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. To me, it just makes a whole lot of sense when I look at this. Now it stops. Why? Because there were no additional directories in the first directory and no additional directories in the second directory. So it has no other place to go. Okay, now why am I showing you this? What I would like is, I would like a program that auto trains itself, that whatever I want trained on, I simply put as a known image. And what I do is when I make it a known image, I name that known image with the person's name. Why? That way I can automatically generate the names array because the name is the file name. And when I do that, I can generate not just the encoding array, I can generate the name array as well. So that makes it very, very handy. Okay, so what can we see though here? What we can see is I end up with an array of files. I end up with an array of file names. What I would really like to do is, and I think I'm going to go back up here and we're going to get a little bit more down to business of what we're trying to do. I'm going to go back to demo images, and then I'm going to go back to Canon, which is what I want to do here. All right, so let's just run this, make sure I didn't break something. Okay, it does indeed look like that's going to work. So I've stepped through file by file by file. Now, a couple of the things that you see is I have the file name. Okay, I have the file name, but I couldn't just go out and say load AnthonyFauci.jpg. Why? I don't have the path. All right, now I have the path here. But I don't have what? I don't have the file name. So for you to really go out and load the Faucinator, what you would need is you would need the path concatenated with the file name. And so I'm going to show you how to do that, because that's what you really want. You really want both the path and the file name as one string. So I'll leave this other stuff on here. But what I would need to do here, well, I got a little ahead of myself. The other thing that you'd really like to do is you would like to step through the file name. So once that I know the root, the ders, and the files as an array, I want to step through those files. So I could say for file singular in files. All right. And then what could I do there? I could just say print your guy is, and then file, like that. And so this should now, in the main for loop, give you the array, and the next for loop should give you a list of each individual person. Okay, boom, look at that. So you see your guy is anthonyfauci.jpg, your guy is billbarr.jpg, your guy is charltonheston.jpg. So hey, that is pretty good progress. But now there's kind of like a couple of things. When I'm doing the facial recognition and I label the box, I don't want to label it anthonyfauci.jpg, right? I want to label it Anthony Fauci. So as far as the name goes, I've got this little thing I got to deal with of getting rid of the .jpg. And then as far as loading the image, I have the little problem that I have the file name, but to load it, I need the file name kind of concatenated onto the path name, if that makes sense. So let's see if we can do some of those things. So I think that what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to create the whole reference to that image, which would include the path, the full path, and the file name. And so the way that I could do that is I could do that by just saying full file path is equal to our old friend os.path.join. And what would I want to join? I would want to join root, which each time through is the present working folder. I would want to join that to file, which is that name. So that would be the root / the file. And so let's now just see if that works. And let's say print full file path. Okay. And so this time through, it should give me like the file name, and then it should give me the full path with the file name. And so let's see if that's going to work. Okay, boom. So let's go up here and let's make sure what we have makes sense. What it starts with is it gives me the folder that I'm working in that we're calling root. It notes that there are no other directories inside of that. Then what it gives me an array of all the file names. And then what it does is it steps through that array one name at a time and prints the file name. Unfortunately, it's got the .jpg. Okay. Then what does it do? It concatenates the full path with the slash with the file name. So now this guy here, right, this thing, I could take this and now I could load the image. And so I could step through loading images and then doing whatever I wanted to with those. So I'm not having to go in and every time change the program. Okay, so I could load the image and do different things with it. All right, now the one other little problem that we have, is a JPEG. Okay, I can't help it. I digress. I always digress. But let's say what I could also do is, what if I said print, like, is there a different way to do this? Because when I'm in here, root would be the full path, and sort of say print root concatenated with a plus with file. Okay, I'm thinking that this would do what I wanted without doing this os join, although I don't know if it'll get the slash in there, but let's try it and just see. You see, I'm just seeing, is there a different way to do it? Okay, you see, it didn't work because it didn't put the trailing slash. It didn't put the trailing slash there. Can you guys see that? You see, when I do it with os.walk, it puts that slash. When I just concatenate it, it didn't put a trailing slash. So I just can't help it. I can't help myself. So I could say, what if I tried to put it in like that? What if I tried to put it in like that? And then plus. It sure didn't seem to like that very much. Root plus, you see it doesn't like that. But let's just run it and see what happens. It doesn't like that slash inside of the quote. So root, what if, could we just do that like that? And I promise I'm going to quit because we have a way that works. Okay, it doesn't like treating a slash as a character. And so we're just going to stop this nonsense because we've got the join command, and the join command does provide us with the full path and the file name. So you can see we go all the way out here and include the file name. So now we've got the file names. What we also sort of need is to just be able to get the person's name without the .jpg. And so what we could do is we could come in here and we could say the person's name, the person's name is going to be equal to, we could say that would be os.path. That's kind of the method. And then what we want to do is we want to split the text. And man, I'll tell you, this is really, you got to get this right. The T is shared, like it's not split text, it's split text. One T, split text. I think it would have been better command with two T's there, but hey, I didn't write the library, so I don't get to name the method. All right, and what do we want to split? We want to split file, okay? And so now it's going to split nancypelosi.jpg into Nancy Pelosi and JPEG. So it's going to return an array of the first part and the second part. So now if we print name, it should be an array that's not very useful to us. Okay, so let's just look. Let's run it. Okay, so now what you can see here is we have an array for the name that includes the string Surgeon General, which is what we wanted, and then .jp, which is the other part. Really, what do we only want? The first position. The first position is the what? It's the 0 position. So what we really want here is if we want to say that that the name is os.path.split text of file, and then we want to just say take the 0, 1, and then we should be able to just print the name, and it should just be a good, clean, unobstructed name if I am thinking about this right. Okay, boom, look at that. You see it's Surgeon General, it's Seema Verma, it's Ronald Reagan. You see it is Paul McWhorter. It's things like that. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So now I have access to the full path to the image, and I have access to a nice clean name for that. And so I'm going to run a little program just to kind of give you an idea of where we're going with this, but then I'm going to give you, the real thing is going to be a homework, okay? But I'll give you a little bit of help here. I'll tell you what the homework is. The homework is for you to train your model by simply dropping new pictures into the known folder with the name, with the file name being person first name space last name .jpg in that form like bill space bar .jpg, and then have it go in and do all of the encodings and do all of the names, so that you're going to end up with an encoding array of all the encodings of the known people and a name array of all the corresponding names of the people. And you generate those two arrays, your two training data arrays, based on walking through your file structure and not having to recode your program every time you want to stop training on some people or training on different people. All you got to do is just drop them into your known folder with the right type of file name. Does that make sense what the homework is? And then the second part of the homework is I want you to split the program like that program we did the homework solution to lesson number 16. where we were operating on the live webcam data coming in. What I want you to do is to split that into two programs. The first program trains on your known images, and then it pickles or saves to the disk. It saves to the disk or pickles your encoding array and your name array. And then the second program just loads those encodings and loads those names so that every time you run the program, you don't have to go in and retrain, right? You train once and you keep that training data as long as you don't need to introduce someone new. Once you introduce someone new, you've got to retrain. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But let me just kind of show you how we could do this. Well, I'm stepping through the files. What could I do? I'm stepping through the files. What could I do? Well, I could take that guy and well, first of all, I got to load him. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. I talk about him a little bit, but now I got to load him or her. So what I would do is I would do a my picture. My picture is equal to CV2 dot. Now I'm going to do an FR. My picture is going to be a FR face recognizer dot load image file. And then what image file do I want? Well, I want full file path, because right up here I created this full file path, which is the path concatenated with the file. And now what I want to do is I want to load that image. And then once I do that, I better go ahead and convert it, because remember the load FR is loading a JPEG image and it is in RGB. I got to convert it to BGR. So that is going to be CV2 dot CVT color. And what do I want to convert my picture? I'm not creating a separate one because I don't need to save the old my picture, so I'm just going to rename my picture with the other file type, and it's going to be CV2 dot color underscore RGB to BGR. Guys, did you notice in the homework solution for 16 I made a mistake and I made this BGR to RGB and it worked even though it was wrong? Why does it work? Because what's the difference between RGB and BGR? Well, the R and the B are swapped. So what's the difference between going from RGB to BGR? Well, you swap R and B. Going the other way, what do? You swap B and R. So even though the command was wrong in this quirky, strange way, it's doing the exact same thing. So it worked okay. But let's do it right. We're going from RGB to BGR because OpenCV does indeed want BGR. So now I've loaded the picture. Now that I've loaded the picture and I've converted it, what should I do? I should do a good old-fashioned CV2.imShow. Well, what window do I want to show it in? Well, I want to show it in which window? Well, a window called name. So I'm not going to box the face and label it because we obviously know what it is because it's the file name, but I'm just showing you how you can use that file name with the .jpg stripped off. What did we call that? We called it name. Well, now the window that I show the person in, I am going to call that window name. And then what do I want to show? I want to show my picture like that. Could it really be that easy? I think it's probably that easy. Right, so I'm going to show my picture, and then I should probably move the window CV2.move window. And what window do I want to move? Well, I want to move name, and I want to move it to 0, 0. And then probably what I should do is I should do a CV2.wait key, and I'll just wait 2,500 milliseconds. So basically, I just want it to pause. I want it to show the picture, pause, and then after it pauses, what do I want to do? I want to CV2.destroy all windows like that. So it's going to show it wait 2.5 seconds, destroy it, show the next one. So this should just sort of run through my images and show them one at a time. And then each image, the name on the window, that window name up there should be the person that's inside of it, if I am thinking right. So let's run this thing. Anthony Fauci. And are you looking at the file names here? Bill Barr, Charlton Heston, Chase, Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump, Dr. Birx, Gabriella Joy, the lovely Miss Gabriella Joy. Another guy here. I was going to take him out. Mike Pence. Okay. Nancy Pelosi, Paul McWhorter, and Ronald Reagan, Seema Verma, and the Surgeon General. Okay, I can guarantee you after running through that, everyone out there is probably ready to vomit. Now, some for one reason and some for a different reason, but there was enough there that you're almost guaranteed that everyone would kind of get that little ugly feeling in their throat from someone in that list. But again, I use these images because they're public domain and politicians do not have any publicity rights and have no right to privacy because they've made themselves a public figure. So we can use these images without running afoul of copyrights and things like that. So anyway, that's pretty neat. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there was just like a simple thing that I could do here. I don't, okay, I'll just do this for fun. I'm going to drop this in here to known. Okay, so I dropped a picture called shoe into my known folder. Even though shoe's not a person, it should still be able to show shoe. So let me come back over here and let's run it again. Anthony Fauci, Bill Barr, Charlton Heston, Chase, Chucky, the Donald, Dr. Birx, Gabriella Joy, Light Switch, Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, Paul McWhorter, Ronald Reagan, Seema Verma, and Shu. I was getting worried that Shu wasn't going to work, but we got Shu and the Surgeon General. So that works. Guys, do you find this as fascinating as I do? And there are just, once you understand this, it's pretty easy and you can just do all types of things. You can do all types of interesting things with this. But what we have to do, the thing at hand is you're going to write a program that is going to train, and it's going to train by walking through the people who are in your known folder. And after you have got their encoding, you're going to have one master encoding that has all the encodings of the people you've trained on, and then a master name list that is going to have all the names of the corresponding names to those encodings. And then you are going to pickle those two arrays, and then your other program, what it's going to do is, rather than train every time you run, it's just going to run out and it's going to unpickle those two arrays. And so it should just run very much faster. It should start very much faster because you're not having to train every time. Okay, guys, I really hope that you're having as much fun with this, having as much fun taking these lessons as I am making them. I'm really having a blast with these. On Thursday, I'll see you guys with my solution to the homework that I gave you. And then those of you who are taking my Python 3D animation class, I'll have that new video released tomorrow, trying to release 3 classes a week. And that 3D Python class is kind of getting to the point that I have taught you OpenCV, or I've taught you Visual Python. So that series really quick is going to get to the point that we're going to connect Python to Python to the Arduino, and then we're going to animate Python through things that are happening with the Arduino. And that then might be a good time for me to take this series and start kind of connecting this artificial intelligence series to the hardware as well, where the things that we're doing on the PC and the things we're doing with Python start interacting with the real world through the Arduino. I've gotten some feedback back from you guys. You guys do seem to be interested in that. If we're going to do that, I'm going to need you to give you a hardware list pretty soon for this series of lessons. You're going to need the Elegoo kit, that Elegoo smart electronics kit that we've used for all the Arduino series. And then what you're going to need is you're going to need 2 good servos. I'll give you links soon to those, and you're going to need a pan tilt bracket. So if you have the Arduino and you have the servos and you've got the pan tilt brackets, we can then start doing real things with the artificial intelligence. Our artificial intelligence framework is going to be interacting with the real world. I think I heard enough interest from you guys that I would go ahead and do that. Hopefully, most of you already have the Elegoo kit, and then the servos. The bracket doesn't cost much. I really suggest you guys get good servos. I know there's some really, really cheap servos out there, and they looked really nice, but I ordered like the pack of a dozen of them, and half of them were dead out of the box, and the other half were dead within a couple of days. And so I think it's worth buying those nice high-tech servos that I will link to shortly in the next couple of lessons, probably. Okay. I have talked enough. If you guys like this lesson, be sure to give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps me with the old YouTube juice. And the more thumbs up I get, the more people that are exposed to this particular lesson. Also, if you leave a comment down below, that helps me with YouTube juice. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, when you subscribe, make sure that you ring that bell so you get notifications when future lessons come out. Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.